For me, the Enchantress is one of several feminine archetypes that can show up in the different phases of the menstrual cycle, also in creative cycles and the female life cycle. And she is absolutely a dark feminine archetype. I actually feel quite at home in that energy, and the older I get, the more I do. Like, it's a mature energy, it's a magical energy. Her sexuality is just for her, like it's just for her pleasure, and that's really very much connected to her creativity. She's super boundaried, she's a bad bitch, she's fucking ruthless when she needs to be, and so fierce, and I love her.
Welcome to Wildflow, the podcast with me, your host, Charlotte Pointeau. I'm a wild feminine cycle coach here for the awakened woman who is ready to reclaim her body, menstrual cycle, and feminine power, and to live, love, and lead in flow with nature's wisdom. In this podcast, I'll share how you can live in sync with your menstrual cycle and life seasons, heal your relationship with your womb and rites of passages, and embody your wild feminine as a multi-passionate woman in life, mothering, and business. It's your time to flourish as a cyclical being in this modern world. Are you ready? Let's flow. Claire Baker is a sought-after period coach, author, and speaker. For nearly a decade, Claire has taught thousands of women how to live in harmony with their menstrual cycle, rather than working against it. Claire believes menstrual cycle awareness is the missing key in women's well-being, empowerment, and creativity, and her immersive online courses and workshops inspire women to know their flow and become the authority in their own lives. Claire's online program, Adore Your Cycle, has students in over 35 countries. With a background in visual arts and creative business, Claire is a certified health and life coach. She has studied menstruality leadership and is a trained natural fertility teacher. Known for her authentic voice and ability to make periods fun, Claire is regularly featured in publications such as Red, Glamour, and Women's Health magazine. Originally from Australia, Claire now lives in sunny East London and spends her days coaching, teaching, writing, dancing, and being as close to trees as she possibly can. Claire has been a teacher of mine since I joined, for a number of years really, since I've been learning about menstrual cycle awareness and came across Claire. Perhaps Instagram was the first place that I found her, and it was quite a big moment for me when I reached out to Claire about joining her cycle coach training in 2020, when I really felt a call to deepen my knowledge and my skills around guiding women to work with their cycle. It was something that I was already doing, but and it just kept coming up and with different clients and in different conversations, and it was part of my own personal journey. And the call to work with Claire was really, really strong, and I learned so much from her, but not just about how to coach and how to guide women, like I say, to connect with their cycles and to live in flow with their cyclic selves, but also about doing business as a woman in business, particularly as a coach, particularly as a solopreneur, as they call it. And not only have we struck up a beautiful friendship, but it's been an honor to have been invited to guest mentor on Cycle Coach this year in 2021, and to continue to do so into 2022. So I invited Claire on to talk about not perhaps what you expect to talk about. We're not really talking about understanding the cycle or the seasons of the cycle or anything like that. This is a beautiful, beautiful, exciting, rich, juicy, enlivening, really powerful conversation about embodying the Enchantress Archetype in business about feminist business practices, and about how we can really call on her energy and why we would want to do that to help us run businesses that honor us and serve us as much as our audience. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hey Claire, welcome to Wild Flow. Thank you so much for being here. How are you going today?
I'm wonderful, Charlotte. Always a joy to chat with you. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, so excited for this chat. But let's begin with a cycle check-in. Where are you at in your cycle today?
I'm on cycle day 27, which I know is also the same cycle day as you, but we're in very different parts of our cycle, which I think is actually quite cool to talk about. So I am literally hours away from bleeding. I think it'll be one of those days where, like, I know I've got a couple of things to do today, one of which is to be here and speak with you. And I'd say once we finish our conversation, I think I'll start bleeding. So I'm at the very end of my cycle. Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here with us in that point just before you bleed. How are you feeling in yourself today? What's that feel like just before you bleed?
Yeah, it feels today. So yesterday, there's a huge contrast between today and yesterday. Yesterday I was in that end of cycle, productive, get lots of things wrapped up, get boxes ticked, to have that sense of completion and reflection, which I love that energy. And today I woke up and I got out of my pajamas at about midday. I just really could feel myself moving into the cave, and it's just I just want to be really cozy, and I'm happy to, I'm so happy to be here and to speak with you. But if I had to, show up to a regular job or something today, or if I was, I had to go out and be in the world and be really busy today, I think I might find today a bit challenging. Not impossible, but challenging. I have that sensitive, quite permeable, and a vulnerable feeling. But it's gorgeous. When I can be with that, and I can today, then I feel quite lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Open, very open.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, you're so right. I can't even think back to how I would have felt being right before a bleed in a regular job, and I can just feel how challenging that would be, and it's so curious now that both of you and I have created lives and businesses where we get to really honor our cycles and choose whether we do something at this point. And I think that's such a privilege, but it's such a priority for both of us as well. And yeah, it's interesting you draw that comparison, because we definitely, I'm on the same cycle day as you. And yet I feel like, I know I haven't ovulated yet, and I feel like it might be coming soon. I'm not quite sure. So yeah, my cycles have been long, and yours are about 27, 28 days then, my standard. Yeah. So interesting how we can, a cycle day does not mean this is what it looks and feels like to you. So thank you for pointing that out. So, well, I am just so excited and my energy is quite different to your energy today. So that's going to be interesting to see how this goes because I feel quite energized, and I feel really energetically juiced up about this chat today. So we're our conversation today, I'll introduce what our topic is today. So when I invited you onto this conversation, I really wanted to talk to you about some of the things that we've been chatting through between the two of us about how we live and run our businesses and operate in this cyclical way. And you've been in business for how many years now?
About 9.
Yeah, okay. And I've been probably about 3.5, I reckon, as it is in this business. And I've really witnessed you in action for the last year or so, having come together in Cycle Coach 2020, your training. And I've really loved witnessing your creative process and the way that you operate and show up and structure your business around you and your cycle and as a woman, what that means and looks like to you. So you've been a real inspiration to me, seeing you run your business, doing it fully on your own terms. And there's a whole heap of things that I have learned and witnessed and observed in you and reflected on for myself as well. Things that I've come to understand about the way that I have been running my business and the way that I really want to. And so you've been a beautiful role model for me in that sense. And so I really wanted to chat with you about some of these things that you like, the beliefs or the frameworks or the way that you view and see your business and how you run that. So as I say, we've chatted quite a lot about this between the two of us. And then very recently in Cycle Coach 2.0, so 2021 training, where I've been mentoring as well, you led a group call where we connected with the Enchantress Archetype. And I was so struck during that call as we were talking about what it meant, what it looked like some examples of how she might show up for us, that the Enchantress is a major vibe that we would want to call in as women in business. And so that really defined how I wanted to frame this conversation with you today. So we're going to be talking about this sacred Enchantress archetype. We're going to dive in deep. You ready?
I'm so ready to have this conversation. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so let's just begin. If I can ask you in your words, who or what is the Enchantress? What does she mean to you?
For me, the Enchantress is one of several feminine archetypes that can show up in the different phases of the menstrual cycle, also in creative cycles and the female life cycle. And she's of the dark, like she is absolutely a dark feminine archetype. And for me, she feels like I actually feel quite at home in that energy. And the older I get, the more I do. Like it's a mature energy, and it's a magical energy. Like she feels very mystical to me, and she is a weaver. Like when I vision her, I see her like her hands moving, like she's weaving, and she's like incredibly creative, and really the gate, the protector, the guardian of my creativity. She's of, like I said, the dark, the depths. It's like there's a richness to her. She's incredibly sexual, and in contrast to, say, like the mother archetype or fertility archetypes, her sexuality isn't about procreating. Her sexuality is just for her, like it's just for her pleasure. And that's really very much connected to her creativity. She's super boundaried. She's a bad bitch. She's fucking ruthless when she needs to be, and so fierce. And I love her. I just yeah, she can be distorted as as cruel and misunderstood as being a bitch and nasty, and like and that she is there to harm. I think there's a lot of distortions around witches and our society's beliefs around what it means to be a witch. And there's so much history there, of course, for women. But, you know, actually it's a very nourishing energy, and it's a sustaining energy to me. Like, she really makes sure that I'm not overexerting myself, or I'm not overgiving, or that there's not any kind of like manipulation or like even prostitution of myself going on. Like, she really, she calls the shots, and you know, keeps me in check with my integrity. Like, she's really in her integrity. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for describing that. I love everything that you've just explained there. And I want to share that when you guided us through this meditation, this journey last week, I said that when I met my inner enchantress, she came out like, what did I say? She was a cross between the evil witch stepmother in Sleeping Beauty, and then I also saw Medusa, you know, with the snake hair. But the energy that I got was like there's like, you know, this like real fierceness, like primal, like kind of scary looking, but also I could sense this real tenderness beneath that. And, you know, like you said, she's firm, she's strong, she's solid, she knows herself through and through, but she's so misunderstood. And I really get that sense. And the energy that I get from the Enchantress is like, she's so rooted into the earth. She's like, she's really like rock solid in who she is and what she stands for. And she's like, yeah, like really of the earth. To me, like, just that strength and that like real relationship with the earth and I guess the cycles as well. So and you mentioned that, you know, she's related to the cycles, and, you know, it's worth pointing out that the connection here is like the premenstrual phase, and how that can, you know, some of those energies can be quite similar, and the phase of life of postmenopause, when, like you say, fertility is not a thing anymore, and all of that creativity and that energy, it's like, okay, you know, it's you, it's for your enjoyment and for you to channel in the way that you want to channel it.
Yeah, it's not so much about others. The energy is really now like calling back in. Like, if we think about the menstrual cycle and we've moved up through pre-ovulation and ovulation, then it's, you know, that waxing energy has reached its peak, and it's drawing back in. Like, the focus is becoming back again in on self. And same in the life cycle. Like, those years of fertility have come to an end, and we're no longer cycling hormonally, but now the focus is like, okay, now what about me again? And I think what's so interesting is that it's often a phase in a woman's life that gets neglected, and there isn't a lot of attention shone on. There's so much misunderstanding, isn't there, around menopause? And again, that's an entirely different conversation, but there's a lot of mystery around how this energy shows up for women.
Yeah, she's like the wisdom keeper, and so powerful, and that energy can be used for destruction and rebuilding in healthy or unhealthy ways, I guess, depending on a lot to do with what your relationship is with aging and your body and your cycle and your fertility, I guess, as well. All of these things, it's like, I feel like it all comes out in the wash at this point in your menstrual cycle and this phase of life. But I love that you, when we were talking before about this enchantress, you know, you made the distinction, the comment that, you know, this is an energy that we can work with at any point in our life, at any point in time. And she's particularly handy to call on in our business.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I really want to dive in specifically to how we can call the Enchantress in, why we would, like, this is just an overview for now, but like why we would want to do that, and how we can use her powers for good, but like for our good as much as anyone else's good. So let's begin with that. Like why would we want to call her into our business?
The professional realms that we swim in, these are the ones that I can really speak to, right? So just to give some context, like the coaching industry, female self-employment, and also like menstruality and the feminine realms of empowerment. Like these are the areas that I can speak to. And in these circles, I see a lot of love and light, which is beautiful. And I, of course, am, devoted to love, and of course, like worship, like light, feminine blessings in business and in my personal life. But that's only half of the story. And like I said earlier, the Enchantress holds these quite mature codes. Like she's grown up, and that maturity brings a wholeness to our businesses and who we are as business owners, and then therefore our offerings and how we're then able to serve our communities. That it, like, again, there's like the feeling is sustainable to me. It feels like it enables us to bring a sustainability, a refinement, authenticity, true creativity to our gifts and to what we're able to share with others. If we're constantly running on yang energy, or we're constantly running on just love and light, and we're not actually exploring our shadows and confronting some of our own fears and some of, our own wounds, and we're bringing those, because they're going to be there anyway, whether we look at our dark stuff or not, like we're bringing it. So the Enchantress enables us to come into to those wounded places within us and to address like our own shadows, so that we're not bringing, particularly in coaching, like we're not bringing those wounds into our work with clients and into how we're showing up in the world. So it's a gift for our own work to bring that maturity and that wholeness and that sustainability. It enables us to continue to do this work. We're talking about being integrity as business owners. If we're talking about having our shit together and showing up as professionals, not just as amateurs with an expensive hobby, like actually going pro. Like she is all about really going pro. And that's, taking care of our creativity, our energy, our finances. She is the guardian, like I said, of our sacred creativity, and also the bringer of magic. I've had moments in my business, and we'll speak more about this, I'm sure, where I'm just bored and I'm a bit over the like mundane, and I feel like I've lost my voice a little, and I sound like everybody else, or I just don't feel inspired. I don't know what to say or what to share. The Enchantress's power is through her voice, and that's how we, are able to also activate her, is through our voice. And so she is what helps us to have that authentic voice in these realms, and to really speak our truth and to show up as we are. Like, why go into business to be a cookie cutter, a replicant of somebody else? Like I do not want to create a business and to create offerings that I should be creating, or that I see somebody else creating. I want my business to always feel like it's an expression of my soul. And that might sound idealistic, but it's true. Like the way that I show up in my business needs to be, that sacred creativity, and the Enchantress really allows that to come through. And that fierceness, that protectiveness, her ability to set boundaries, her respect and trust for herself and also for others, like for other sisters and other peers. Like this is an energy, it's a quality and a frequency that I believe that the professional realms that I've already identified that we swim in, I think it's lacking, and it's an energy that is incredibly important. So thank you.
So there's so much in there, and what it makes me think of is like what you just want to pull out one thing that you said that made me really kind of sit up and take notice was when you talked about like going pro in your business as well, and like not just kind of playing at it a little bit. And I think, you know, for people who are starting out in their business, this might speak more to them, but that sense of like not feeling ready or able or worthy to like just go all in and stop making the excuses. And she's the energy that helps you to just dive in there and find your voice and bring that to life. But I see, you know, from what you just shared there, like I can think of examples, you know, in times when I've felt that energy in myself and in others, and then absolutely on the flip side where I felt that like that healthy the healthy feminine, or like the mature feminine, like you say, is really present, and you know, in an unregulated industry. And I think where, I mean, not all coaches, this is obviously reflective of the people who I connect with, but I connect with female coaches and female entrepreneurs and not men. Obviously there's lots of male coaches, but when we have so many women, you know, as single business owners as well, you know, this can really bring up sister wounding, you know, like how we felt accepted or rejected or seen and felt and welcomed, you know, right back through our lives when making friends, you know, with other girls, with women growing up. And you know, this can be like our power, it comes from within. But when you're in a coaching business, or you know, a solo entrepreneur, and it's really very much about bringing your gifts out into the world, you know, we can be so powerful together, or we can just really perpetuate this wounded feminine maiden energy. We can tear each other down, we can be really harmful, but we have such an opportunity to embody that enchantress, to kind of heal that sister wound, and to raise each other up, and to bring in feminist business practices as well.
Yes.
I'd love to ask, in your years of business, can you give some examples of some of the lessons that you've learned about, you know, for yourself, like through experiences you've had, things that you've witnessed, where you've noticed this divide, like this opposite between the immature or the mature energies, and how that's played out for you?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point to make there about the way that of course, these archetypes aren't just stand alone, they interact with each other. And the Enchantress provides such beautiful protection for the Maiden. And there's like a lot of work that many of us need to do around healing our sweet, innocent, tender Maiden. Like you mentioned, the sister wound, that's just such a massive one that so many of us carry, like feeling safe with other women, noticing when feelings of competition come up. It's definitely been a journey for me to really let other women in and to collaborate, I think, for a long time. And I still hold this identity in some ways. Like I really identified as a lone wolf in business. Like I didn't have a big like posse of entrepreneurial girlfriends. It's actually only, I've had a couple of good ones, but it's only been actually quite recently that I've let other women, female business owners into like into the, you know, like the word secrets in my head, like the secrets of my business, and they're like, you know, really in to collaborate with, to help, to be helped by, like, and you know, there's Charlotte as a mentor in my training, you know, bringing mentors in to support the vision that I have, because I can't do it by myself. And like coming to that realization, like I genuinely can't do this alone. This vision is so big. I need to be able to share it. So that's been a journey for me. There was a moment a number of years ago where I recognized that the calling that I share, the calling that I have, which is essentially, I feel, to restore like harmony around masculine and feminine energies on this planet. Like that's how I see my work in menstrual cycle awareness, is to bring some equilibrium back to this planet. I realized that like that's not a unique calling. Like that's not, it's not like it's just like, Claire Baker, this is your calling. You are the only one who can do it. Like no one else can do it. You're so special. Like there was a kind of, like specialness. Like that's part of the like the wounded maiden for me, is that kind of specialness. To actually recognize like, oh, fuck, I share this with so many other women was such a relief. Like my ego had been telling me that like I was the only one who could do this, and which sounds ridiculous, but like that's the narrative I held, and I need to keep this to myself and blah, blah, blah. So actually beginning to share my work, creating a facilitator training around everything I had learned over the years prior, and then bringing, mentors in, having graduates coming through, like that's been really healing for me. And for sure, my Enchantress has been on that journey with me, definitely. I think for me, one of the most important pieces of this puzzle has been to be in the field of other facilitators who hold that Enchantress frequency. I think that's really important to mention. Again, when I first started coaching, I was surrounded by a lot of other really young coaches and people who were probably a similar age to me as well. And it's not all about age, but there was like quite a lot of youth, and which is its own beautiful frequency, like that beautiful optimism and innocence and like just unbridled enthusiasm that is so gorgeous, but it doesn't hold those keys of discernment that the Enchantress holds. And as I've gone on my path, choosing to actually learn from mentors who are not only older than me, but also in their Enchantress years of their life, and who have also moved through cycles and cycles, creative cycles, so that, they really hold that energy of discernment and refinement and are really boundaried, like being able to feel into their frequency and to appreciate it and respect it, like that's been so helpful for me. So I think that's been another important part of the story too that I would mention, is like, who are you spending your time with? Who are in professionally? Like, who are you learning from? Who are you choosing to be in their field by? Because sometimes those energies can be really intimidating, and it can be easy to shy away from them. Like, oh, I don't want to, because they might seem a bit standoffish or a bit like mean, or we might create this story around what kind of person they are, because we can sense that they're incredibly boundaried, and they might not let you in the same way that somebody who is more immature with their boundaries might, right? And so they might, be really clear in their energy field. And so tuning in to like some of the most incredible teachers I've had are ones who I've kind of been a bit like, ooh, whoa, initially, but actually learning from them, I can feel the love and the nourishment and the kindness and the compassion, and I can see how their boundaries sustain that for them. And so learning from that has been awesome. Like, I'll give an example just to illustrate this point. A mentorship I was on years ago, one of the mentors, she was so boundaried around her time. Like when she was teaching, she was like, when I'm with you and I'm teaching, I'm here and I'm 100% with you in the room. Like, ask me anything, I'm all yours. But if you see me out on a walk in the morning or in the evening by myself, like it was it was a residential, like, do not come and talk to me. Like, if I'm off on my morning or evening walk processing and being with myself, like, please don't come and speak to me. Like, that's my time, it's not yours. And it inspired me so much. And so we can learn so much from having these boundaries, being around women who embody that frequency. It's been huge for me, actually.
Yeah, I really relate to that as well. I found that when I started off in business, I was, very much like, wanting to give, wanting to like feeling like I had to undercharge a little bit and like over deliver and be available all the time. And even just setting up my calendar, for example, like, well, you know, people might need me then and they might need me then. And so I better make myself available. And, you know, now I'm in a point where I'm much more like I'm only available for these teeny tiny windows of time. And I don't want like a million clients. I want this, you know, like fewer, and to really give of my energy in that. And that feels really, you know, you mentioned the word sustainable. That's like, you know, that's one of the foundation points for me about this, is that, you know, we're not, you know, like you said about the Maiden, like being like the people pleaser and over like so high in energy and optimism and joy and possibility. And then for me, I think of like the mother as energy of like, you know, giving. And again, still not having, you know, those boundaries are not really like pulled in. And the Enchantress is the one where it's like, right, that shit's not cool anymore. I can't do that. I can't keep that up. And like pulling it in and being okay with that not being well received by everybody.
Yes. Oh yeah, because you won't. Yeah.
You simply can't please everyone, right?
No,
so
you
please
can't.
yourself first, in a sense.
Yeah. I learned a long time ago that no one else is going to set your boundaries for you, not your clients, not your partner, not your community. If you have a calendar, if you have a coaching calendar that you are available 5-6 days a week from like 9 a.m. till 9 p.m., then guess what? You're going to be working, seeing clients 5 to 6 days a week, scattered throughout 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. So it's a great example to give. Like, these are the times that I want to be available, because maybe for some people they can sustain that capacity of working with clients one-on-one. I certainly cannot. And I know that if I try to do that, I will end up resenting the people I'm working with, and I'll end up resenting the work and feel burnt out by it. And that's when the victim can come in, because then it's like, you know, oh, well, like I'm burnt out, or I've been giving so much and I don't, this doesn't feel good. And the Enchantress is like, no victim here. Like, you decided that those were the hours you're going to work. So let's hone it in and let's figure out what's actually going to work for you, so that you can make money and do good work when it works for you, because that's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the more that we can step into that and let go of this need to be everything to everybody all the time, and instead, like, remember that, you know, this has to work for us first and foremost. And, you know, at this time of our life, like our like this phase of life that we're in, we are, you know, I call it like the mother archetype energy. It's not about having children. It's that energy of being creative and having loads and loads of ideas, wanting to do all the things. And like, for me, I'm like, oh, I could do this and I could do that. And like, you know, there's still a lot of possibility. And I really have to call on that energy of, well, what feels good? What feels right? It's not about what, like, I also remember when I started my business, there was a lot of, you know, create things that people want. And of course you want to create things that people want. Otherwise there's no market. But I think it's really interesting to pose the question or the suggestion that it's about what lights you up as much as what people want of you.
Yes.
What do you say to that? Like, how's that informed your creative process?
Yeah, you've absolutely, there is a sweet spot. Like, we don't, it doesn't have to be either or. Of course, it's smart business practices to create solutions to people's problems and to serve your community and their needs. But if it's at the expense of your own joy, like, again, why go into business for yourself just to be bored or tired by your work? Like, it's just so important to me to maintain that Oh gosh, just that engagement. Like I just want to feel engaged by the work that I'm doing. And the Enchantress really helped. You know, she stepped in for me last year after I had my first book published, which was really exciting and something I'd been working on for years and years, and was, you know, I'm so pleased with it. And it was such a wonderful process, but it was quite a different process to how I've created before. And I'd been used to, for a number of years, creating for my direct community, and they knew my voice, and they, you know, I was confident and comfortable speaking the language that we had been creating together for all of these years. When it came to publishing a book that was for the masses and for a community that was beyond mine, it did mean that there were some changes that I needed to make in the way that I was sharing, you know, and communicating. And the book also reached a much younger audience than I have had experience working with. So I had quite a lot of stories come in around what I was allowed to talk about after the book came out, and what I was like, what was appropriate and what was no longer appropriate. Like I started to believe that I wasn't allowed to talk about blood magic or sex or like swear, or you talk about some of the darker topics that I've always felt really confident sharing, you know, very comfortable sharing with my community on, because there was a whole new audience that I was just not familiar with. And that was a really interesting process, because I genuinely lost my voice, probably for the first time in the whole time that I've been working for myself. And it was hard. I really had to find that magic again. And for me, that involved like talking with trusted, again, like that sister wound, like bringing in a couple of trusted girlfriends who I could share what I was feeling. It meant taking some time away from sharing it all, because I'm just not interested in faking it. Like I don't want to pretend that I have something to say when I don't. It just feels so yucky to, like,
I hear you so
know what
much
I
on
mean?
that. Yeah.
Like trying to post on Instagram when you're like, I don't know what to say. So you say something and you just feel like, oh, gross. Like, what was that? Like,
Totally.
it just feels like so weird.
I've been in that for the last like 2 or 3 weeks, just like not feeling like posting. And so just not, and going, this is cool. Like it's fine. It'll all work out in the end, instead of just posting, like you say, crap just for the sake of the algorithms.
Oh God, totally. And it's just like, so for me, it just erodes my energy so much, like so much. So no, I took a break, and I set up a beautiful ritual actually with the book, sat down with the book, created a ritual where I just shared how I'd been feeling about it and how much I loved it and everything that had come from it, but that there also had been some shadows that had come up around it, like with this huge expansion of releasing this book. Like there was naturally a contraction. And what's so beautiful about the Enchantress is that she's so comfortable with death and transformation, and is really the energy to call on when you need to let go of something and you really need something to die. Like I needed these beliefs to die. Like they just were not serving me. And I don't even know if they were true, but they just weren't serving me at all. And just started, I remember like, I'm just going to write a post about how sometimes I anoint myself with cervical fluid and I fucking love sex and I want to talk about magic again. And like, I'm not, you know, and being really clear about who I wasn't as well. I think there had begun to be a bit of a misunderstanding around some of the new people who were following my work around what I do. And I was getting a lot of questions, for example, around like hormonal imbalances or issues that really needed to go to a GP. Yeah. And I'm like, that's not my jam. Like, that's not my field of genius at all. Or my, you know, it's beyond the parameters of my qualifications. Like, this is who I am. And this is what I talk about. And just beginning to find my voice again and just beginning to share it. So yeah, that was a really powerful experience with my Enchantress last year. She also, as I'm just talking, I'm just feeling her come in again around like just any time there's been transformation and death in my business, getting really comfortable as business owners with the cycles of your business and knowing like when it's just time to let something go, whether that's branding or copy or some old photos or an offering or an idea that you've held about yourself. Like whenever I've had that transformation, she's really been there by my side and has just helped me to like let some things die off. So that we can move through the new cycle and that beautiful, sweet rebirth can be happen. And then we can come in with the maiden with all the hopes and the visions and the possibility. But if we don't let shit die, then we're never going to get to that feeling of inspiration again. So often she shows up when there is like frustration and boredom and we're a lot of like, you know, mundane, even exhaustion. Like when I'm feeling exhausted with my business, I'm like, okay, what needs to die? Something's not right. Yeah,
totally. I've had that the last few months. There's been this feeling, and it would come up it was always the same time of my cycle as well, when I did reach the premenstrual phase and also the menstrual phase. So like that back half, slowing down, waning energy, I would start to feel like there was something that I was doing where I was like, oh, I've got to do that. And the moment it became like I've got to do this, I was like, this just doesn't feel good anymore. And it took me quite a few cycles to be really sure that I wanted to, when I say cycles, I guess I mean like maybe a few months, 4 months maybe, something like that, of really reflecting on like, where was this coming from? Was this coming from the wounded, like, and fear kind of place? Or was it the enchantress going, this isn't serving you, you can do better, this doesn't feel good, you know, and if it doesn't feel good to you, then is it working for the people you're serving to? And, you know, like you say, slashing, burning, you're creating space, putting the nutrients and the energy back into the soil to fertilize and compost for what might fill its place when it's the right time, not rushing in to go, right, I'm going to do this now just because I can. Like just really sitting and being slow. And like, I love that. I really love to carry the energy of the whole cycle through business, and, you know, each moon cycle or menstrual cycle, just looking at what's working and what's not, and being really choosy about which idea I'm going to carry through, what offering I'm going to put my energy into, and letting everything else just sit in the pot and stew and bubble away until it's the right time. But then also like using that waning energy to really critically question, like, is this what I want to be doing with my life? Does it feel good to me? Even if other people are going, yeah, it's great. And I think there's so much power in that. And it's quite rebellious, it feels like, to, you know, think about, you know, and put your focus onto what feels true for you. You know, but I like to say, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I think that's the enchantress speaking.
Yeah. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And like the mother absolutely can. Like she's just like, I can do everything. Yeah. Absolutely. Which is again where our enchantress is just such a sacred protector of the other archetypes as well. She's like, I can see that you can, babes, and you'll absolutely nail it. But like at what cost? Like there's a trade-off with everything. So does it add up? You know, does it add up? And I didn't look, I would never say I've burnt out, but I was I have had some issues with my thyroid over in the last few years, and I had to really be honest with myself about how much I was working. And not only in terms of hours, but again, like what I was working on that actually wasn't giving me energy and fueling me, and where I was just feeling exhausted and drained in my business and creativity. My Zoom just went really weird. Tried to cancel. No,
sorry. It's okay.
Tried to quit.
I can still see you fine.
Cool. I actually stopped seeing one-on-one clients maybe 18 months ago now. And I'd had this sort of like knocking at my door. My enchantress was like, it's going to be time soon. It's going to be time to like to take a break and to have a sabbatical from coaching, an extended one. And it felt so terrifying to me because that's how I had, like, that's what my business was. My coaching had always been the bread and butter. It was very much tied in with my identity as a business owner and as a coach. And I love the work. I love one-on-one work. And of course, financially, like, it was a huge risk to just suddenly stop seeing clients. But, you know, she's like, this isn't working for you anymore. Like, you need to take a break. There's something else. And her ability to trust in the unknown, because she's like totally swims in the depths of the unknown. Like she's, you know, like the queen of the dark. She's so happy in the underworld that like that ability to trust in the unknown as a business owner. It's like you have to be able to do that. A lot of people ask me like, how do you work for yourself? How do you stay motivated? How do you like survive? How do you not go crazy without like a regular paycheck? And it is a certain quality that you do have to have. I think you have to be able to trust in the unknown. You can forecast all you like, but like there's uncertainty with any job. But it's more obvious, and it's, you know, it's in face all of the time. Like, you really have to be able to trust yourself and your own resilience and your own creativity and your own inventiveness, and also trust that you'll be supported. And like, that's what that energy is just all about. Like, if the first half of the menstrual cycle is about agency and getting things going and moving and taking action, and like, you know, we are in charge, then that second half is like, okay, I'm gonna like let go and just like, okay, I just have to trust.
Yeah.
Like, trust in the universe and trust in the collaborative forces around us that, like, you know, will be held.
I really feel that. Yeah. And I think you've just articulated what I feel and sense every time I come to that part of my cycle, or that cycle in business as well, like that letting go and like just really trusting that all is going to be well. And that, like you say, I have what I have within me, what I need. Clients will come, the work will come, the money will come, the inspiration will come, the support is there, and all is happening in its own timing. And it's such a practice to honor that part of that, the cycle, all the cycles, you know, this part that was just like so uncomfortable with collectively. And there's so much power in that. You know, that's how, you know, so many, you know, the most successful businesses, I reckon, why they are so successful. It's that ability and capacity to sit with the unknowns and the cycles of creation, and being able to evolve and adapt and grow and follow what feels, you know, aligned to your purpose or your vision or whatever, rather than clinging on for dear life to what you know, just because it has worked in the past.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Just because something's worked for you in the past definitely does not mean that it's going to continue to. And that can be so hard to come to terms with.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're like, no, but it was so good.
Yeah.
I had it all figured out.
Yeah, and yet, you know, I just love that. I love playing in that energy of like, how could this be different? How could this be better? Is there something I've not considered? Is there like, because I think, you know, when you're the only person in your business, you know, you might have a VA or assistant or whatever, but if you're the only person like in the CEO mindset, like CEO role of like visioning and strategizing and planning and, you know, doing, then you can get so stuck like down your lane, that down your tunnel of like the realm of what is possible, that you can't see what actually somebody else might see or might be possible. And I think just stopping, as painful as it can be, like that's when you get those like strikes of gold and you're like, oh my God, I never even considered that. Fuck yes. And you can feel the difference.
Yeah, it's true. And I think the more, for me anyway, the more I've been through those like moments of things collapsing or like not working out, or I've just really realized something needs to go, like I need to burn something down. And on the other side, it's like this incredible gift and reward. The more times you go through that process, then the more you can trust it, and you can start to feel like that excitement that you mentioned, like, ooh, like, okay, something's happening.
Yeah.
Something's not working, which means something is definitely working.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love that. Oh, I love talking about this. I want to ask you, Claire, moving on to like something, I guess, a little bit more uncomfortable, possibly, following the vein of the Enchantress. I really want to talk about like what it's like for you being such a, I feel like this is probably not the right word, but you're like, you're such a leader in the field of menstruality, and you're like one of the foremothers, if you like, even though, you've got your lineage of teachers and, you've started Cycle Coach as Cycle Coach School now. And, you're training facilitators to do what you do loosely, but in their own unique, bringing their own unique brand of magic into that as well, whatever that might look like. And I feel like this is, it's a in the grand scheme of things, like teeny tiny section of coaching, and menstruality as a field is like, it's so new and so emerging, and that as we kind of there are a few examples of people like you who are doing this as their business, and who are coaching or leading or really pioneering this field of, like I say, menstruality or cycle awareness, or whatever people might call it. And I think as we're all trying to, like, for people who are interested in working in this area, I think there's, like I say, there's not that many examples of people who've been doing this for a while. And I think it can be really tempting. One of the things you talked about before about the difference between the Enchantress and some of the immature energies is you talked about, sacred creativity, boundaries, and having like that authentic voice and like finding your voice. And so I think it can be quite challenging for people to work out what their way of doing things is, what their way of teaching or coaching or guiding other women through connecting with their cycles is. And this is true for other fields as well, not just this field, of course, but I think it's so important that we can respect the things that we have learned and the things that we have been taught, and then try to create our own way of being in the world. And I would love to hear a bit about your story, how you found your authentic voice in this field to start with, and any advice for somebody who is starting off and finds themselves going, oh, I really like what they're doing, I might go and do that, but then, oh, but I really like that too, and bringing it's that difference between like learning from other people and taking the teachings on board, but then versus bringing together like the threads from all the different things that you're learning to create your own offering and your own business and your own voice. Does that make sense? That was quite a long, rambly way of getting there.
No, it's a great question. When I first started working for myself, and started writing and blogging, like blogging was really where it all began for me. And that was before Instagram. Like I think maybe I had an Instagram account, but we didn't, back in 2012, like back in the old days, you didn't really.
I can't remember if I had Instagram then or not. Like that is like another lifetime ago.
I think it was back when Instagram was like, you put those weird filters on. Like it wasn't like it's such a different app to what it is today. And so it was really all about blogging, which was, I'm really glad that that's actually where like the genesis of my work began, because I don't feel like there were as many voices as there seems to be now, because there's just, with social media, like we're just inundated like so often. Like back then you'd get like a notice on a Friday of the blog post that had come out that week, and maybe there was like 3 or 4 that I'd read. Today, I mean, we probably see like 100 different posts at least on social media. So it's a different way of interacting today. And I think it's important to name that, because it can feel as if everyone is talking about the thing that you're talking about, because you're probably following a lot of other people who are doing work that you're interested in and inspired by. And I'm very conscious of that, to the point where I go through phases where I just will unfollow a bunch of people or mute them, or I won't go on social media at all, because I'm very aware of how easy it is to be not just inspired, but actually to begin to adopt other people's voices or ideas as your own, when that actually might not be true for you. Like it's so incredibly natural that can happen. And I'm very conscious of that when I'm creating. So back in the blogging days, it was kind of great, because, I feel like I really had an opportunity to hone my own voice and to talk about these things, to talk about my experience with my cycle, which is really where it all began, and to be able to like name my experience and everything I was learning without, if I was ever coming into contact with menstruality, it was through, like a book that I might, 1 or 2 books. It wasn't like there was this influx every day of other people's ideas. So I'm always saying this to people when it comes to creativity, like, do not be afraid to shut down the voices outside. Don't even read books. Don't follow people. Don't watch stuff. Don't listen to stuff. If you need to just really come back into like your voice and what it sounds like and what you want to talk about, shut everyone else out. Do not go looking for inspiration elsewhere. And then when you actually start to feel the call to be inspired again, you will, and you'll find really beautiful things that inspire you and that you'll be able to call in again. But just to be mindful of the amount of noise. And I think what can happen is that when we don't trust ourselves and we haven't really worked on like nurturing that voice and getting to know what we sound like. Like I can tell when what I'm writing about is mine, or when I'm leaning on someone else's ideas. I know, you have that feeling, like you just, you can start to tell, and to be able to catch yourself in that creative moment when it's like, no, this isn't totally mine. That's a really important skill to have, to be able to discern, like, this is my voice and this is how it sounds, and this is when I've taken too much from other people. Referencing is a really important thing to mention here.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, reference.
Yeah.
Reference other people. If you've learned something from somebody else, reference them. You mentioned earlier, Charlotte, how unregulated the industries that we work in are, and this is one of the biggest downfalls I see because of that, is that there is a lot of taking of ideas. And I have had some incredible teachers in my life. Of course, I share their ideas because I've learned from them, I've used them, I've embodied them, I've integrated them. But, I'll reference and help to by acknowledging that lineage of the work. This is something that one of my teachers, Alexandra Pope, really helped me to understand, was like the importance of solidifying that lineage of this work, because it is so new. Menstruality is, of course it's an ancient, but it's also very new in the sense that our consciousness is just coming around to this idea of honoring menstrual cycles and cycles in general. We've kind of lost touch with that wisdom for the last couple of thousand years. So now we're coming back around to it. Like, we have to honor the sacred lineage of this work. It works for us. Like, it's better for me and for my work to reference the teachers that I've learned from. It strengthens the integrity of it. It solidifies it. It gives it a credibility. But the wounded maiden who, again, that ego that comes in, that wants to be special, or that wants to be like, I'm the only one. Like, as soon as we adopt that mindset, then it's hard to acknowledge that we have learned from others. There's a really, like, again, that maturity and that humbleness to be able to say, like, these are the powerful women that I have learned from. Like, that serves the work in such, like, the ripple effect of that is just huge. Yeah. Rather than pretending that we made it all up, like.
Yeah. And we can't possibly claim to have made it all up. Like, that's just foolish to even think that we could do that. But I see that, and I feel that, like, this sense of one, like you said about, like, I always refer to it as like the coaching bubble, like that sense of being on Instagram where you see like so many people and you feel like everyone's talking about what you're talking about, so why bother, because everyone else is doing it. It's like you're in this bubble but nobody else is. So removing yourself from that. But I just wanted to say, like, I see within that bubble, like, the same kinds of posts popping up all the time. And that's fine if people are, sharing authentically their own experience. It's when you get into that habit of they're talking about that, so I've got to talk about that, or, oh, look, I don't want to forget that, or, picking out that difference. But I really want to just touch on, I just wrote down as you were talking, the difference between pinching theory versus embodied wisdom. Like, you were talking about how you have integrated and embodied the learnings that you have taken from your teachers, and you're sharing that, you're referencing it, but also the other thing is that you've embodied it. It's your part of your practice, it's part of who you are, how you live. It's not just this thing that you learn that you're just regurgitating, offhand quickly, to make it look like you know what you're talking about. Like, there's a real difference between embodying it and learning it for yourself and feeling it and feeling the difference, and then sharing from that place rather than just jumping on the bandwagon.
Yes. Oh God, there's so much information and teachings that I have learned from different mentors and teachers and books over the years that I don't share because it's not mine to share. It's not something that I've experienced or embodied yet. And so it's not mine to share. Regurgitating information, I mean, ultimately, I feel like it's what my entire university degree taught me to do, was basically just it's kind of the old paradigm of education and learning, isn't it? Like,
totally.
That's what we were taught to do, was to memorize information and regurgitate it. There was, very little. I mean, of course, there was some critical thinking, but there was no embodiment of it, like actually going out and embodying these ideas into your life, into your body, into your work, and then coming back with a whole new evolution of their work. So yeah, and this is why in Cycle Coach, this is why the facilitator training is not just a professional training of here's a bunch of presentations you can give to people and here's the how-to. It was really important to me that was also very much of a personal journey with menstruality. And that course takes every facilitator deep into their own menstruality. And I feel like I repeat myself constantly in that training, but I mean this, do not share something unless you've tried it yourself and experienced it and embodied it. Don't just repeat what you've read online without really coming into some kind of communion with it first. Yeah. Again, it feels sustainable to me, just speaking about the difference between these different ways of teaching and learning. when I think about just regurgitating ideas, it feels like I'm kind of holding my breath in. It feels like very upwards energy, and it feels like kind of burnout energy. But when we move a little slower, because actually it will be more slow, that way of teaching and building a business and sharing and being a leader, because you have to go through your own processes. So that's going to take more time, isn't it?
Hell yeah.
But if you don't have the mentality that you need to hustle, or that there's a huge rush to get to some kind of invisible finish line, if we can actually take the perspective that there's heaps of time, like there's plenty, there's all the years, like we've got loads of time, then we can actually honor these ideas and play with them, sometimes for years before we even start talking about them. There's so much in my personal practice that I don't talk about publicly or share online yet. It's not time, like it's not ripe yet. So honoring the cycles of these teachings in your own life before then, like rebirthing them in the world.
Oh, that feels so good. I love that. Yeah. I was journaling last night, so I tried yoni steaming. I've done it before, but it was the first time I did it at home, and I created this beautiful ritual, and it was new moon, and I was journaling afterwards, and I picked tarot cards for each week of the moon cycle, and my first card for like now, because it's new moon, the card was, and I can't remember what the card was, but it was basically talking about like this difference between like there being opportunities, it being like a ripe time to bring forth creation, but also like doing it in a way that feels sustainable and that feels good and slow and steady. And as I was journaling on it, I wrote out that it's like, I love my work so much. I am just at the start. I could be doing this for 40 years and I'd be in my mid-70s. And I was just like, everything I'm doing is like an investment in this whole body, this legacy of work. And every time I feel like, I just want to do it now, it's like, oh my gosh, hold on. Like, there's time and there's a place, and things need to settle and brew and simmer and be infused with the learnings and the embodied learnings that you have, like we're talking about. And I just thought, like, that is just so feminist as a business practice or way, like the patriarchal capitalist system, which is all about hustle and pushing and doing as much as you absolutely can right now all the time. That's also the system that wants us to pinch ideas, because that's what patriarchy has done. It's mind taken, colonized, claimed everything for itself, and it's that kind of energy. And I feel like sticking two fingers up going, fuck you, I'm not going to do that to the collective, like the sisterhood, to peers, to to myself as well. Like, I'm not going to degrade my work by saying, or like pinching things that aren't mine. And you and I had this conversation recently, this really honest conversation between the two of us, where we were talking about, like, in Cycle Coach, you share some handouts, for example, like cycle charting handouts and everything. And I was thinking, like, how I had recreated a version of the cycle chart, and I was really thinking about, like, how much of it was yours, how much of it was mine, like, where did it come from, like, did it feel good to me to share something, or was it better for me to really sit with, like, what my own process is, and then create something that sure can be inspired by you and your teachings, but isn't like just my version of what you've done. And I think that the more we can talk about these things, the more we can, like you say, like collaborate, we can heal this, you know, the feminine and the way that we've been stolen from and, you know, mined for so long. And we can really reclaim trust in each other, but in the same process, finding our own voice and our own way. And I really appreciated that we could have that conversation and it be a healthy conversation and not a wounded like ego or she said, you know, she said this and she said that, or, you know, it wasn't like how it could easily have gone in between two different people.
Oh gosh, and I've had those types of conversations like where it has been, you know, very reactive and coming from a wounded place. I really appreciated that we were able to have that conversation as well. Like Enchantress energy is definitely about having adult conversations. And as like you know, as wisdom keepers of this work and of like devotees to, again, like restoring the equilibrium between feminine and masculine energies on the planet, like I really appreciate, you know, that we can do that, because that serves the work. And I've had a couple of experiences in my. So what's interesting about the example you just gave, Charlotte, is that we both came to that conversation with so much integrity. And something I've noticed in myself in the past, and I definitely see this in a lot of like freshies, like fresh business owners and coaches, is a real lack of boundaries around intellectual property and sacred creativity. And so, you know, the conversation between us could have gone a couple of ways. Like, you could have come to me around, you know, with a question around like, how can I use this? Like, what are the parameters? And I could have said, no, you can't use any of it. It's all mine. Like, you know, I'm not sharing it. Like, totally. Like, absolutely, this is mine. I'm not sharing it. And that's, I guess, like, you know, the shadow of the enchantress. If it's out of balance, it's just like shutting everyone out. This is mine. Don't come near it. I'm not sharing this with the world. So therefore, I'm never going to birth anything because I'm terrified it's going to be, you know, misinterpreted or appropriated or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that could have been one way. Or I could have been like, oh, just do whatever you want, babe. Like, just, yeah, the more,
just go for it.
The more the merrier. Just use it exactly as it is. Don't even credit me. Like, just go for it. Like, all more women need to get this, the better. Like, even if it's at the cost of my own sacred creativity and IP, like, and then slip into that martyrdom of like, oh, that's not important. Don't worry about that. You just do whatever you want. And neither of those would have served either of us or the work. So it does require the ability to like be really in your own truth and really clear in that channel to say, let's have a conversation around how things do need to be referenced and the parameters around how things can be evolved and changed and what that would look like. And I've had to have a few conversations like this in the 9 years of being in business, and I'm sure I'll have many more as the time goes on. And sometimes I can look back on it, a few of them that I haven't handled so as gracefully as the conversation that we had. Absolutely. I have definitely had a few that haven't gone as well. I had quite a significant encounter with this topic around sacred creativity and honoring lineage this year, when there's been a few times over the years when I can tell that someone has maybe just borrowed like my tone slightly, or they've maybe looked at my coaching packages and they've adopted the framework for themselves and whatever. All good. Like, there are some things that I'm like, that's fine. You've made it your own. But I had quite a full-on experience this year where I had a few people direct me towards the website of another coach, a menstrual cycle coach, who had essentially adopted my tone, my my words, sometimes verbatim, from my website, from my about page, from my work with me page, from some of my offerings. And that was like, even just recalling like that moment, like honestly, my heart broke. Like I just felt like so much heartbreak. And it was such a strange experience to see on this website. Like I could remember writing that sentence. I could remember the time that it had taken me to come up with that color choice, or which way that photo was going to go. Like it had been like so much had been lifted. And it was a really confronting experience. And it was definitely one that I had to call my enchantress on board for, because there was absolutely that voice in my head that was like, well, they've changed enough. And from a legal standpoint, maybe, you know, it's like 10% you have to change something in order for copyright to not be valid anymore. It's actually not a lot.
Wow.
Like
10%.
ethically, yeah, like ethically, absolutely not cool. But like from a legal perspective, there probably actually wasn't like a great deal that I could have done. It's really minimal, which is just gross, but that's how it is.
That's representative of the whole attitude, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Totally. Yeah. And you see it in fashion, you see it in you know, music. Like it's rampant. It's rampant, this borrowing, you know, stealing of ideas and turning them off as your own. There was totally that voice, that part of me that was like, oh yeah, I could just leave it. Like you know, she's obviously doing great work, and I don't want to rain on her parade. I don't want to have a difficult conversation. I don't want to have to like put the energy into this that it's going to require. And it really did require a lot of energy.
Yeah.
But I needed, I had to take, it took me time to go through and to identify every sentence, every color, every like part of my work that had been taken, and to confront this person with it, and to say, this is really not cool. And I was able to have some thankfully I did get some really great legal advice at the time, and I was able to have this discussion with this person and get them to change things. But that was hard. I found that really hard, but I had to do it because this was like my time and my energy and my work and my intellectual property and my secret creativity, and my enchantress was just like,
oh hell no.
Oh hell no. Like do not fuck with me. Like I had just had that mantra on repeat, was like, do not fuck with me. I am so I can be so generous with my work. Like I really want to give as much stuff for free as possible. I want you to be able to come into my sphere as a business owner, and you can learn how to chart your cycle. You can learn about the different phases of the cycle. You can take all of this away, and you don't have to give me a cent. I genuinely always want my space to be like, to feel generous. I don't want to be gatekeeping this information. Like that's really important to me. But like that does not mean that you have the right to come into my space and take my stuff and try to palm it off as your own. So yeah, that was a big
especially
one.
when it's an offering that's making them a lot of money. Like that's not the point, but it's an additional layer to it, right? It's like,
of course,
it's you know, we can buy into the whole thing of, like we've been saying, you know, borrowing is such a euphemism, like outright stealing of ideas and copy and, like you say, branding and all of that. And then selling it on, it's, you know, it's like, it's just buying into this old paradigm. And we can do so much better. We don't need to do that to each other. I think it's so important that we get really honest with ourselves. Like that time I did with you, and it wasn't even stealing it. It was just like, where's the credit and how does this work? But, you know, having that capacity to be really honest with yourself and be like, I'm a big girl here. Like I can put my big girl pants on and I can take it if you know, to make the right choice.
Yes.
And then we get to be collaborators and peers and partners, and, you know, we can work together and create an even greater change when we can hold each other with that respect, rather than doing the whole divide and conquer thing.
And when this person made the changes that I had requested and I went back to have a look, I could feel them in what they had then written and the images that they were then using. Like, we do ourselves a huge disservice to try to borrow someone else's voice and identity. It's like, that's not yours. Like, I can't feel you in that. I can feel me. I can see, like, you've taken some of my voice, but like, where are you? And I could genuinely feel them. And I'm like, okay, I can, now there you are. Like, now I can see you. And now their community will be able to see and feel them too. Like, I 100% believe that it's also doing their work, you know, a service too, to say, like, hey babe, I see what's going on here, but it's not cool. Like, this isn't how we do business anymore.
Yeah. And I love that point so much. Like, you know, I don't know what the quote is or where, but I've got this thing in my head that's like, people come to you because of you, like your energy. They want to work with you and they want to be in your space. And people need to be able to see you and feel you. And that requires putting yourself out there and communicating and expressing that so that people can be drawn to you. Like, otherwise, why would they work with what's different about you? Like, you've got to own it. That's what the Enchantress helps with, I reckon.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And this is, again, where we find our confidence is like, well, if everybody's talking about menstrual cycle awareness and, you know, feminine wisdom, great. How, like, who are you? Like, it's not about the information being regurgitated. It's about the frequency that you hold. That's what's going to attract the right people to you. But that takes, like, you know, commitment to being able to cultivate that frequency within yourself and to be able to stay true to it. That's a real practice, but it serves your business, or like tenfold. You know, that's what gives its nourishment. And we've said the word sustainable so many times in this conversation, but like, that's what keeps it. Totally. But it sustains it. It feeds it.
It's not, I say buzzword, I mean, like, we know when you play like bingo and you're like, there it goes again. But it's like such an important word. And I think it's one of those, it's a real core value and principle of doing business in this new kind of modern, healthy, balanced way. That's not just about, like, you know, doing everything and being everything just because you can. I think, coming back to you. So, wow, what a conversation. Thank you so much, Claire. I just loved that so much. And I love just sharing this this experience and this journey with you. And I've absolutely loved you know, being involved with Cycle Coach School, and it's about to wrap up next month or so, isn't it, for this round? And then you'll be opening up next year. Well, which is super exciting. So I'll pop your details and the links if anybody wants to connect with you and find out more about Cycle Coach School. But just the very last quick question I just want to ask you is, if you could share one thing, like your most, like the truest thing, what has connecting with your body and your cycle taught you or revealed to you?
It always comes back to just like acceptance of how, like, the full spectrum of who I am. I think I spent a lot of time in my 20s trying to, like, you know, as you do in those maiden years, like trying to figure out who I was and feeling confused all of the time because I felt like I was just so, like, I had so many different frequencies. I was like good girl and the perfectionist and the academic, but then also like this crazy party animal who like loved to party and travel, and then this really sexual side and this kind of magical side, and then this really like grown up response. Anyway, so I feel like for me, menstruality is just like, was that the understanding that I am all of those things and more, and that it's all welcome, and getting to play in them every cycle, like all of the different sides to myself, and just being really cool with that inconsistency in inverted commas, or how the old paradigm would have defined inconsistency, like celebrating that actually as a superpower, my essence, who I am. Just gives me like infinite gratitude for this work.
I love that. Yeah. All of you, all of those parts of us are always present and welcoming all of that inconsistency. And beautiful. Thank you so much, Claire.
Thanks so much, Charlotte. I really appreciate be able to have a conversation like this. It's not one I could have with, everybody. Like, you really bring so much grace and power to this work, and I just love you. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Love you too. And have a beautiful bleed when it comes.
Thank you. Bye. Hi, Wildflow listeners, it's Claire here. After I spoke with Charlotte and we had the conversation that you've just listened to, I felt really called to name the mentors I mentioned, who I've had the honour of working with, those who embody these qualities of the Enchantress that we've been discussing, and whose frequencies I've benefited from receiving, particularly after we spoke so much about honouring the lineage of the teachings that we've received and referencing. I felt like this was an opportunity I had to share some of those teachers with you, to give them credit. So firstly, Alexandra Pope, a co-founder of Red School. Not only is Alexandra in the postmenopausal rich autumnal enchantress phase of her life, but she is also what she would call a via negativa woman. So she's very comfortable playing in the mystery and the uncertainty, the darkness, those enchantress realms. And I feel so blessed to have had 3 separate residentials with Alexandra, leading and modeling so astonishingly, like a true enchantress, discernment, epic boundaries, truth speaking, and delivered with so much love. Jane Hardwick Collins is another teacher whose powerful presence, just in and of itself, just being in Jane's sphere, activated something within me. She's the ultimate grandmother, warrior, queen, who models this wise leadership and this ability to create community and to be in that leadership role that women in their postmenopausal years do hold the keys for. Shani Marie is a feminine mysteries teacher and guide who is absolutely not postmenopausal. In fact, we're exactly the same age, so we're in the same phase of our lives. But gosh, Shani just holds these dark feminine codes, and her mentorship for me has been exceptionally transformative, particularly around sex and the body and relating. Lastly, Sharon Holmes. Sharon's been a teacher of mine in the realms of inclusivity, particularly inclusive coaching. And this is something that, inclusivity, I believe, is totally in the realms of the Enchantress. We're talking about embracing, welcoming, accepting all. And Sharon is a powerful teacher, and she brings this like no bullshit fierceness to diversity, inclusion, and equality, and a deep sensitivity, a real care to her work. And there's nothing off limits with Sharon. She calls it how she sees it, and the spaces she holds are mindful and nurturing. So it's this light and dark, this both and dynamic that I feel we're often starved of in the coaching, well-being and spiritual realms. So I happily recommend these teachers, and I feel really grateful to have learned directly from them and experienced their enchantress magic.
Thank you so much for listening in. If you're loving this podcast and you'd love to help me spread the wisdom shared, please leave a review or rating, or share this with somebody who you think would love to listen in. I'm really passionate about creating ripples of change and getting this information to more women, girls, and people with a cycle so that they can reclaim their cyclic natures too. And if you'd love to dive in deeper with learning more about how to connect with your cycle and rites of passages, come and join our free Wild Flow Circle community, or choose a course and learn with me on my online learning hub. All the links are in the show notes. And until next time, be well and go with the flow of your cyclic nature.